The former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been sentenced to 5 years in prison after being found guilty of criminal conspiracy by a Paris court. The case was related to millions of euros of illicit funds from the late Libyan leader Col Muammar Gaddafi. The Paris criminal court acquitted him of all other charges, including passive corruption and illegal campaign financing. Speaking outside the courtroom, Mr. Sarkozy slammed the verdict, describing it as an extremely serious moment for the rule of law, and went on to say he would sleep in prison with his head held high. He's also planning to appeal against the verdict. Here's our Paris correspondent, Hugh Schofield, who explained how unusual the sentencing has been.
Nicolas Sarkozy is incandescent with rage about this, but he says he will do the honourable thing, and as he has throughout his various legal cases, do what he's been told to do. What he's going to be told to do in the coming days is go to prison. He will receive a summons. He's not being let off in handcuffs now. He's going to go home, but in the next few days he will get a summons saying report at this time to La Santé prison, probably in central Paris, and there he will go. And there we will see a totally unprecedented sight of a former president of this country going to jail for a crime. Now, he's doubly incandescent because he says the court has way exceeded its powers and has basically carried out a vendetta against him, and that's the underlying accusation. He and his lawyers have pointed out in the last half hour that while he was acquitted of the main charges in this case about Libyan financing, in other words, there was no evidence found of Libyan financing, there was no evidence of corruption, nonetheless, they found him guilty of what they call here criminal association, which is a kind of catch-all charge, often used against drug dealers, for example, when people can be shown to have been knowing each other and talked about a potential crime, even if they don't carry it out. And under that heading, he has been found guilty, and they have thrown the book at him by giving him the maximum possible sentence for this crime of criminal association. And that is what is making him incandescent, plus the fact that there is no suspensive clause in this sentence. In other words, the fact that he's appealing will make no difference. He will start serving his term even though he's appealing. This is all new territory, and the legal establishment in the country is those who are sort of learning of it now, I think, are pretty shocked that he will be going to jail.
Yeah, turbulent times in French politics, Hugh. And just to go back a step then, take us back to this period, 2007, and the background to all of this case, which he has always maintained is politically motivated.
Well, he says that all the cases against him are politically motivated, and says there is a cabal of left-wing lawyers and justice officials who've got it in for him. In this case, the charges relate to his first presidential election campaign in 2007, and the allegation that in the years before that, he and his two lieutenants, men called Brice Hortefeux and Claude Guéant, who became very important in the years of his presidency, very important figures, they went out to Libya and tried to arrange the transfer of funds from Libya for his campaign, in return for which the promise was that certain things would be done by Sarkozy when he was elected, particularly, and this was interesting in Britain and France, relating to this man called Abdullah Senussi, who was charged abroad in France and the Netherlands for his role in the Lockerbie bombing and the DC-10 bombing of a French airliner. The idea was, allegedly, that in return for the money that Libya would give Sarkozy, he would try to somehow make the condemnation of Senussi less strict. Anyway, that was the allegation, but the court found that none of the money came. There was no evidence of money having actually arrived in Sarkozy's coffers. There was no illegal funding, there was no corruption, but there had been a plan at the beginning to try to do this, of which they said Sarkozy must have been aware. And that was why they flung the book at him.
Hugh Schofield in Paris.